Hi guys, welcome back to another episode. In today's episode we are going to be testing out a 1275 12G 940 head on 998 block, seeing if it's a goer. So here we are, borrowing this head from a friend and just want to see if it's something that's worth the effort or not. So first couple of hurdles, just getting it on. They're bigger in this area here, which I knew, so you have to take the edge off the water pump, which is fine, but they also foul on the pulley, top of the pulley, annoyingly, so I've had to take all the rad and pulley and fan and stuff off just to check, see if it fits. At the moment, so what my plan is, so I've done a little bit of really minimal stuff on this head already, just flattened it off, make sure there's no high spots and stuff. I've removed the two springs from number one and put dummy springs in so I can move them easily. My plan is now to, with no head gasket at all, bolt this up. I'm not torquing it down to torque, I'm just literally nipping it up with the rockers on, nut and push rods in on cylinder number one, and then I'm literally going to turn it over a couple of times and just see if things hit. If things don't hit, which I think is possibly a bit on the optimistic side, then I can start looking into using plasticine to work out actually how close it is, because just because it doesn't hit, it could be, a thou away, which isn't quite enough piston to valve or anything. Piston to block will be okay because you've got the thickness of the head gasket, pulling it up. So if it clears now, then I'll have the thickness of the gasket, which will be about 1 mil, I think, which is enough for piston to block on something like this. So yeah, I'm gonna nip the head up, get the rockers on, two push rods in, and just turn it over and see what happens. So yeah, here we go. Right, so good and bad news. The inlet valve doesn't seem to hit the piston anywhere, so I'm still going to do a plasticine check if I do decide to go down this route. The exhaust valve does hit the block, but it is so, it's like literally just kisses right on max lift. So what I'm going to do now is so I'll essentially set the tappets to 0, so there's no tappet clearance at all. And what I'm going to do is I can just about get it sort of past, but what I'm going to do is just back the adjusters off, or on the exhaust, just back the adjuster off a smidge until it goes around nice and doesn't hit. And then what I can do with it on base circle, the cam on base circle, I can measure the clearance between the rocker and the top of the valve, and that will give me a rough idea of how much interference, as it were, there is on the valve. I'm imagining if it's a measurable amount, I'm imagining it's like a thou. There's no like, you can press it on the way down and it's so close to not hitting. So hopefully, I need to work out what gasket exactly I'm going to be using, but I think it will probably be close enough that I won't need to pocket the block, which is a big result. There will be some to come the other way into that, because the head has got to be skimmed, probably at least 5 thou. So whatever my measurement here is, I need to add at least 5 thou to have the head skimmed and cleaned up. So that's a bit unfortunate, but you know, if it's a case of there's no way I'm going to be pocketing the block, sort of 5 to 10 thou, it's just not worth it. I'll run a thicker gasket, or one of the options I've got is if I run a 1275 head, you can get the MLS gaskets. I can run 2 gaskets on them without any problem. So that's an option, albeit a very expensive option because they're 75 quid a gasket. So it's, you know, it's 150 quid worth of gasket. Whereas the standard 998 gasket, Victor Ryan's one, which they recommend using, is £12.50. So yeah, I don't know. These are all things that I need to factor in, whether or not it's worth going to the effort of fitting one of these 12G 940 heads. Obviously, the benefits to this, and the reason why I'm looking down this route is much bigger valves. This is a small valve 1275 head. It's also only 9 studs, so it's not the really desirable 11 stud head, but yeah, bigger valves, bigger ports. The chambers are already a little bit nicer, and having measured this chamber and the head that came off the 998, there's only 0.2 cc difference. So in the starting from, you know, phase, I've still got to increase that to get my compression ratio I want, but it doesn't put me back 10 places by going with a really small combustion chamber, which is good. Yeah, the big things being the much bigger valves, and bigger ports, much better ports. So, which is all gonna, you know, it'll help. I've just got to decide whether it would help enough for me to spend the money on doing it. At the end of the day, this is supposed to be a fairly budget build. It's already started to escalate a bit more than I was expecting, but it's, you know, I want it done right, so I'll certainly not going to go cutting corners with it, just to save a bit of money. I'd rather pay a bit more and do it right. So decisions. So yeah, now I'm going to just do some checks on that exhaust valve, and then we shall see and go from there. Right, so good news. As expected, the exhaust valve is literally must be size of size sort of thing. Like the lift must be the thickness of the depth to the valve, because there's literally no movement in the adjuster at all. Almost the slack in the thread in the adjuster, and it completely clears. So I'm pretty happy with that. As I say, there's 5 thou to come off, which is, you know, is a bit not quite ideal. I've got to try and keep that to an absolute minimum. We'll just have to see what, and then reanalyze it as it once the head's been skimmed, and just go from there. If it's got to have more, like 10 thou come off it, then I've got to, you know, look at possibly pocketing the block. But hopefully if I can get a 1mm gasket on there, whatever type, then that will be, you know, I'll be happy with that clearance. That will give me 1mm clearance, which is fine on something like this. It's not a high revving thing. And the inlet, so what I did is kept turning it over, kept winding the adjuster in, so essentially going negative tappet clearance. Just kept doing that. I got down to about 3mm, and it still clears the piston. So there's, with no gasket, there's at least 3mm piston to valve, which is really good news. That, you know, that's, yeah, really good news. So hopefully, as long as it hasn't got to be skimmed too much and everything, and I don't find any other issues. So I've just had a look at the water pump pulley again. It's quite a big hit. I'm going to have to try and probably space it somehow, because it's not, I know this hasn't got a head gasket on it, but that's not going to affect it very much, but that's nowhere near going on. But the problem with spacing it is that's going to then, I'm really tight on space for my supercharger belt anyway, so moving that forward isn't really an ideal option. So yeah, might have to get creative there. I don't know if maybe you can get smaller diameter pulleys there, you know, which isn't really yeah, which is, yeah, we'll see what we've got. Do a bit more digging, find out why that's the case. Is that a 998 thing? Is it the block's shorter, or I don't know, might have to put a 1275 pulley on it or something, but that's all overcomeable, which is nice. So yeah, it's all looking like, hopefully we will, as long as I can get things for the right price and that, I think I probably will go ahead with the 1275, which is exciting. It's another hopefully fairly sizable jump in power. I think with an OK cam standard 998 head, I think you're looking at sort of 70, I think with a good exhaust and stuff, probably 75 horsepower. But hopefully with something like this, you know, maybe aiming for 90 would be nice. But I mean, realistically, I'm probably not going to know, because I'm not going to be rolling road in it. I'm not sticking it on a dyno or anything, unless, you know, I end up doing a, you know, club's dyno day or whatever. But I'm not having it tuned at a rolling road. I'll do all that myself on the road. So yeah, but as long as it's got more low down grunt, then I can deal with that. So I've got to work out how much I need to take out the head to get me the right compression ratio. I've measured all the bore and stroke and everything, so I know what it currently sits at, and yeah, go from there. Now I know the CC of this head and the other head, I can still go through both calculations, and they'll come out fairly similar. So that's good and very exciting. So that's going to be it for tonight, and hopefully get back on it the next couple of days, and yeah, try and get a bit more. I've also noticed, now all the rad and everything's out of the way, it's looking a bit like more feasible that I might be able to get that pulley out without taking the engine out. That'll obviously have to come off. Possibly might have to jack it up and take the engine mount off, but I don't know, we'll see. It might be an option. Might be easier, might be harder. Don't know, we'll see. I'll wait until I've got the new pulley, so I know how deep the register is and stuff. So, you know, if the register's deeper than that gap, then there's no point in trying. So yeah, exciting. So thank you very much for watching. I will see you on the next one. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Thank you.